Hello, world. Woo, indeed. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Our next guests are the brilliant minds behind the music featured in the #1 animated film of all time, Frozen 2. With more award statues between them than I can count on both hands, they've ushered in a new era of Disney classics, writing deeply personal songs that are more relatable than ever, and at times, frustratingly catchy. Frozen 2 is already available on demand, but starting February 25th, you can bring it home on Blu-ray and DVD. Please welcome the obscenely talented Kristen Anderson-Lopez and Robert Lopez. Make some noise, please. Not enough. More. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both of you, welcome and congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. How are you guys doing? How is life right now on your side of the fence? I imagine pretty good.
Life is great. I mean, we're still getting used to. We spent most of Frovember going back and forth, and we went to Japan. And then December was really exciting because there were some award nominations, and then January was doing all the awards. So we're back, and we feel like we have mono. We're a little bit tired.
I don't want to harp on the awards because I know it could be uncomfortable for people to talk about when they've won so many, but you've won an obscene amount of awards. At this point, what does it look like at your house? Is there a wall? Is there a shelf? Several shelves? What are you doing with all of them?
Well, the good news is we've won enough to not really worry about winning anymore, and we were able to enjoy this last Oscars, which we knew we wouldn't win.
We did have the best time because we knew we didn't have to give a speech. We knew it was Elton. Elton had to get up there. We were sitting right behind the Parasite people and right in front of the 1917 people. And I felt like we were just babysitting Oscars because they kept running up to the stage to get more.
Bringing them back and then leaving them there when they would win the next one. And there was just like an empty row in front of us.
So we were
with
basically
these
the
unmarked Oscars. Yeah.
Did they ever turn around and go, can you watch these for a minute? Did they ever?
Never.
No.
They were so nice, but we really definitely felt like we were part of their entourage in both directions, and we loved both films.
And we would stand up every time they won just so we got on the camera.
You don't?
Stretch out our legs.
Smart. Not your first rodeo.
And I wasn't wearing heels. I was wearing sneakers, so it was very easy to be like, yes!
You were built for it. You were ready.
Yes.
Last question. You don't have to name names, but surely there are statues you don't even have out at home. You've got some. There have got to be a couple that are just in a box.
We do. So all of our Oscars have sweater dresses.
Yes.
And so the Frozen Oscars, there's a K and a B, and they wear pink pussycat hats.
I should just, as the man, some people sent us this stuff. We didn't dress them up.
As the man.
I feel the need to preface it with that.
As the woman, our Frozen ones have pink pussycat hats for the Women's March, and our Coco ones wear little tiny sombreros.
You guys are doing it right. You're living the dream. All right, no more award questions. Thank you for indulging me on that. And we're going to talk about the release. We're going to talk about the film, but in general, big Frozen week, big Frozen news. I mean, it's just Frozen wall to wall. But there's a new Anna and Elsa coming to Broadway, which is very exciting.
Yes, they had their first night last night. Were you guys in the audience? Were you too? Okay. So we said goodnight. We said goodbye to Patty and Casey in a very tearful show on Sunday night. Gave them flowers. Patty announced that she's having a baby, which we've had to keep secret for a while. And then on Tuesday, or last night, our new amazing Anna and Elsa just stepped in, and we've also changed the show a little bit.
Exactly. That's what I was really excited about, because I don't know that I've seen this before, but especially a show like Frozen that's doing so well, it's so successful, it's in the middle of its run, and you've introduced a new song. 2 new songs or 1 new song?
One new song.
One new song. Yes, 1 new song. And I was blown away by that. That's so exciting. What a crazy thing to do.
It was very cool. We got a chance. We were just done writing the songs for Frozen 2. We had kind of wrapped on that, and we were feeling a little bit like let down, you know.
Goodbye, Anna. Goodbye, Elsa.
We'll never get to write songs for you again. And then the producer of Disney Theatrical said, how about a new song for the tour? And we were like, yes, yes, yes.
You were right there.
It's a duet for Anna and Elsa. And there really aren't enough of those. There's like one in Frozen 1 and none in Frozen 2.
It was one that I've been dying to write. Since we started writing for Anna and Elsa, I really wanted to write a song where they could sing in harmony, the same hook. They could each have different verses, the same hook, but it would mean different things. Yeah. And it's actually there's such a snake eating the tail thing with Frozen because we were working on the Broadway show while writing Frozen 2, and that really informed it. And then while we were writing Frozen 2, we then went back and had to work on the Broadway show again. And there was this song that we always planned on putting into Frozen 2, but then Jennifer Lee wrote this beautiful, beautiful scene that captured it so well, and we had other fires to put out and a release date to hit. So we were like, keep that a scene. We'll just hold on to this hook in our heads. And then when Tom Schumacher was like, I'd love for you to think about a duet, I was like, well, we've got one that we've been hovering around and dying to write for a year.
How often does that happen? Because the very nature of animation, you know, they take so long to make, and the story evolves as the films are being made. So I can only imagine that you guys are writing music. You're writing songs to these tentpole moments in the story. How often do you find yourselves having to pivot and you'll lose something that you loved and you have to write a new thing?
Every time they do what's called screenings, which are all in storyboard form, and they all have temp dialogue and temp, the demos of the songs. And every single time, as Kristen says, people basically watch the thing and then they get out baseball bats and smash everything that they didn't like. And if you're lucky, 4 things will remain, and that hopefully one of them will be a song.
And then you take those 4 things and then you start building the movie again, and you do this
that.
every 4 months. So it's what we do with Disney is so exciting because you're working with these artists, but you also need a huge amount of flexibility and resilience, and to even if you're in love with something, if it's not landing or it's not where the story wants to go, you got to be able to say, okay, goodbye.
One might even say that you have to let it
Let
go.
it go.
They were groaning before I even
I
said
know.
it. I didn't even say it and they were groaning.
Oh, but
Thank you.
I have the segue, though, the good segue from sometimes when those songs land on the floor, when a story changes, we go, well, they'll put it on the DVD. We'll put it on the DVD. And that's what we've done with,
This is that farm where they
These
go.
little guys right here.
So every once in a while, these come out.
Yeah.
And you get those cut songs. So there's an Olaf song on here that no one's ever seen. There's a Kristoff proposing song to Anna, a song called "Get This Right." It's got storyboards. There's even a cute little animatic of me telling the story of how I was ice skating, and is that on? That's on the digital. That's on the digital. Sorry, there are some things that you have to get the digital for, and there are some things you have to get the physical. And I have not figured out which those are.
We'll all learn together in time. You mentioned that you start telling a story of ice skating. I know Remember Me was a song you wrote inspired by the lullabies that you would write for your children when you had to travel without them. And you talk often about how you'll pull from inspirational moments throughout your life. What has been the most surprising or unexpected moment that you've pulled a song from?
You want to go? I feel like I've been talking a lot. You go.
That ice skating thing was pretty cool because we were really stuck for a song for Olaf. We had written Unmeltable Me, which was a little trifle, and then that got cut. And then we had written another one that no one knows, and that got cut. And we were like, but we have to write him a song. He needs a song somewhere. And Kristen was trying to blow off steam, and she went, just because you have to, do some self-care when you're in the middle of all this stress.
And also exercise to counteract the amount of stress eating and stress drinking you're doing. So I was ice skating in Prospect Park. We live in Brooklyn. Everyone thinks we live in LA, but we live in Brooklyn. And I was thinking, okay, this will all be done in 6 months. This will all be done because I knew the movie had to be done in 6 months.
It's gonna happen.
And then I thought, that's what Olaf basically could be using as a mantra of this will all make sense in 6 months. This will all make sense when I'm older. And so I ran to the guy who rents the ice skates and said, do you have a pen and a piece of paper? And he gave it to me. And then I would skate around the rink and then write a lyric and then skate around and then write another lyric. And I came home from ice skating and was like, boom, Olaf's song. Bye.
When Kristen walks in with that divine inspiration, she has it all written right. What's your reaction to that moment when you see that place before
love you, honey. That is that's the best because so often it's really hard to make that thing from nothing. But when it arrives to her or arrives to me all fully formed and you just channel it, then then it's just a matter of execution. Then that's fun.
Yeah, I've heard you guys talk a lot, especially leading up to the film, about like working in the shadow of Frozen 1 and of Let It Go, and working in the pressure of all these things, and how it wasn't really that way at all, because you guys kind of started from scratch. I'm very curious about what was the first step. You did Frozen, it took over the world, then you did Coco, everybody cried because it was beautiful, and then I get to give you the call. All right, we're doing Frozen 2. Where did you guys start? What was the first thing you did?
Well, the first thing is really our collaboration with Jennifer Lee and Chris Buck, and many of the artists at Disney Animation. Jennifer Lee called us up, and she was sort of whispering. She was like, "Guys, I'm just going to tip you off. I think we're going to do Frozen 2. I don't want to do it without you. Here's my thought that we're going to deal with the girls getting older. It's going to have something to do with maturity." And then we were like, "Okay, all right, we're in." And she said, "We'll build it the same way. Just talking every single day, talking about what we care about as parents, as people. And really, that's what informed it, is like, where were we 4 years later, 3 years later, after this life-changing thing called Frozen 1.
Well, it was good that they started with a lot of research. They went to Norway and Iceland and just got inspired by the landscapes, and they did a lot of research into the characters just from the inside out. Jennifer Lee took personality tests like the Myers-Briggs as Anna and Elsa, these like insanely long questionnaires, just to dive back in and to realize like what's there that we didn't get at the first time around. And for us, it's always about what's there that is singable, what's there that's positive, that is passion, that is just like you can't express this feeling except by breaking into song. And so that is hard the second time around in a sequel, and that's why you don't see a lot of musical sequels that are satisfying. And the fact
Bobby
that
likes
this
to
one,
say that the first musical should have squeezed all the toothpaste out of the toothpaste tube, and so it was really up to us to figure out, like, what's the new toothpaste tube that we're squeezing. And
ideally, it shouldn't be toothpaste the second time around. It should be something completely else, like
peanut butter.
yeah.
Which I've seen in tubes. That's a thing. You mentioned... Oh, I didn't want to cut you off. You were
No, I was going to just say that also we all had life changes. The first movie, we were writing with Jennifer Lee when we all had very little girls. The very little girls wearing princess dresses and dealing with, like, how do I feel about my daughter wanting to be Sleeping Beauty? Could we find a way to take Sleeping Beauty but also add a feminist message to it? Now we have girls growing up. Now we've got two teenage girls. We've got a 10 and a 14-year-old. Jen has a 15-year-old. And so really our job as parents is to basically say, show yourself what you can do. Find your path. So it makes sense to me that we would write a story which is about somebody learning to listen to their gut and find their true path to their power.
Well, you mentioned, I was going to bring up, you look for the things within the stories, the positive things that you can sing about. But I think what's brilliant about the music you guys write is there are the positive things, but they're not always, it's not black and white. It's not necessarily just positive. And I think that's why it's so relatable. You got a song like The Next Right Thing, which ends in a positive way, but I mean, even just thinking about it, I get a little emotional. Like, it's such a... That song was very on the nose for a lot of people. What were you thinking about in that moment? And also, do you guys get emotional when you write songs like that one?
I mean, when we wrote that one, I was crying because it comes from a very personal place. Chris Buck, one of the co-directors, lost his son while we were doing the press junket for the first movie. Lost his son suddenly, and we watched his family. We watched him go through opening the movie, the wrap party, then the whole awards, taking one step at a time, 1 minute at a time, just getting through the day. And they were so brave. And so when we knew Anna was going to face this dark night of the soul, we were really thinking about them and how do you, and anyone who has ever felt like so sad and so paralyzed by grief that they couldn't move forward, what is the process of getting out of bed? What is the process of pulling yourself out of that hole and breaking it down to one step and one tiny voice that you're listening to. I guess this whole movie is about listening to the tiny voices in your head that are saying good things.
Have you ever had a song that personal not make it all the way to the finish line and not see the light of day?
Well, we just cut one from Frozen Broadway.
Oh yeah, but it got seen. It got recorded. Yeah.
Okay, got recorded. That's not bad.
You know, there's a song called True Love that was in Broadway, the Broadway show, but it was a very, again, like close up, personal, looking at the micro choices when you realize that you've listened to fairy tales your whole life and maybe made some poor life choices, thinking you would get the fairy tale. But at the moment where it fell in the show, it was when you really wanted to get to the ending. And so we decided to find that depth in a different spot with a new song called I Can't Lose You in the Ice Palace. And in order to justify that emotional moment, we had to take True Love. But I love that song, and you can find it everywhere.
I'm a big Disney nerd, and I love the parks and everything that they do and all that sort of stuff. I grew up going to them as a kid, and I saw in Paris they're building like an Arendelle. There's going to be like a frozen land, essentially. I don't know if that's the proper name or not, right?
Finally, a reason to go to Paris.
But I bring it up because
That was a joke, internet. Internet, that is my husband.
pull quote. There it is. Places hate Paris. They never travel again. No, but I bring it up because not only that, but there's the ride and Epcot and all that sort of stuff. These things. This is your legacy. Your grandchildren's children will ride these rides. They will be around forever, and that's an incredible thing to not only just create this music that's touched so many people, but to know that it's going to be around for a very long time. What does that feel like to know that there's a piece of you that will live on?
Yeah, I mean, when we first got the job, when Disney first called us to say maybe we could work together, that was the moment for us where we're just like pinching ourselves, like being a part of this tradition that lasts forever, these movies that have the opportunity to become classics, and we can write songs that might, outlive us. It is a pinch me, am I dreaming? But it's also a pressure, because I remember the first song we turned in for Frozen, it was not even a full song yet. It was like, what do you think of this? And our music executive said, I think it's okay, but I'd love it if it were better. Because this was Disney.
I was like, so your note is write better. Okay.
Good.
But you know what? I also find that if people ask us legacy questions, that it's really not healthy for us to think like that, because right now we're still very much in the trenches, building these songs and movies. We've got a lot of things in the works right now, and for us to step back and think about like, what is the story of my life, doesn't serve the muscle that is like, what else do I have to say? What do I like? How can I take life and take these lessons I'm learning in life and put them into songs and hopefully share them with people?
Well, I got a trillion questions, but so does the rest of the world, and I want to make sure I don't eat up all of their time. So we're going to take some. We got some from the internet, from the room as well. This first one's coming to us from Twitter, and this is at SapphireWolf17. They're asking, what are your thoughts on the LGBTQ community embracing Let It Go and Show Yourself as coming out songs?
Well, Let It Go was definitely all about the emancipation from fear and shame. And that's been a huge, huge part of the lessons that we want to teach our own children. And any group that is feeling oppressed or that identifies with the song, it just means the world to us. It really does. And Show Yourself, the same thing. Show Yourself, if Let It Go was the emancipation from shame, Show Yourself is truly like, once you've let go of that shame, what is the powerful thing you're going to do?
What are you going to grab?
What are you going to grab? What are you going to go for? And it makes me really proud that any group of people who would feel oppressed could be lifted up by these songs. It makes me feel like I'm doing my job in the world.
Very cool. That's a great question. Thank you so much for that, Danielle. And Danielle, we're going to reach out to you. I've got a digital code here, and I think we'll be able to give you this digital code for asking such an awesome question. But incidentally,
right.
I can't help but notice we've got 4 questions in the room, and I think we have 4 copies of the film.
So if you want an early version of the physical DVD available, everyone else has to get it February 25th.
That's right.
You guys could get it here right now.
That's a whole 6 days early.
With a nice question.
That's right. We need a nice question. The first one is coming to us from Michael. Michael, let me hear your nice question, sir.
I'm actually from Brooklyn myself, so go Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
So I'm always interested in what's the process of a creative person, whether they're developing anything, whether it be songwriting or anything like that. So whether it be from previous projects you've done or frozen projects or even your current projects, whether it be from your own life experiences, lessons you learned in those life experiences, or just other projects you've done in the past, where is your biggest inspiration come from?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. We are storytellers, so we're writing songs, but these songs have to, like dialogue, fulfill a function within a story. And so we are gaining inspiration from the story, but very often it's because the characters and the situations make us feel something based on what we've experienced. So it's that moment when we find a moment in the story that makes us feel like, I know that moment. That's me. That's Kristen when that happened to her.
I call it the fire in your gut. When there's something in the story that I go, oh, I know exactly what it feels like. Right now, we're gonna spring it right here. But our new project is a live action movie we are writing for Mark Platt, who did La La Land, and it's based on a graphic novel called The Prince and the Dressmaker, and it's got a woman, a dressmaker at the center, whose voice is really silenced because it's turn of the century, and she wasn't allowed to be a designer. And I know that feeling. I know that feeling of being like, I have something to say, but I'm not allowed to say it because I'm not allowed to be talking in this room right now. And so to be able to sort of channel that into a song is great. And then it just flows because I'm like, this is what I know. I know this feeling.
Great question. Thank you, guys. All right. I'll get you your copy of the movie. Don't worry. Oh, you're going to toss it?
Right.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I don't know if we're insured for that.
I don't trust myself.
The next one's coming to us from Edward. Let's go ahead and get Edward's question.
Hi guys.
Edward!
As well as your amazing work for film, you obviously have an amazing history on Broadway. In Transit, Book of Mormon, Avenue Q, full of incredible, amazing songs with witty lyrics, meaningful lyrics, sad lyrics. It's incredible. My question is, what song or musical that somebody else did do you wish you had done?
You know what? Right now, I'm just in love with So Big, So Small and Dear Evan Hansen. And the house felt so big, and I felt so small. That, to me, it's a perfect marriage of melody and hook. And it's the kind of message that I think whenever somebody I know is in trouble, I say things like, I'll be here until it feels small again. And they captured it perfectly with the song.
I'll go a different way, but also relatively recent show, Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. I loved that show, and it just gave me so many great laughs. Our whole family just deep, deep, deep belly laughs and beautiful moments in music and lyrics.
Really awesome song. All right, we've got 2 more left. The next one's coming to us from Christina. Christina, you should have a microphone. There you are.
Oh, we know Christina. If I tweet anything, she's the first one to press love. Thanks, Christina.
She's been working on that free copy of that movie for a while. She's been playing a long con, but she got it. You did it.
Appreciate it. First of all, thank you for making an emotional wreck for all your songs, especially Let It Go, Monster, Show Yourself. So my question is there any song that actually got you through anything like in your bad time in your life or a rough time in your life?
Oh, gosh. You mean a song that someone else has written?
Or any of you guys written for?
I'm thinking about this a lot because I'm writing an article right now for a journal about what I call my bathroom medicine cabinet lyrics. And so Big, So Small is one, like ones that you go to when there's a specific ailment. And I was thinking about I'll Cover You from Rent was a really, really important thing for me to listen to when I was in a not too healthy relationship in my 20s. And I remember hearing that song and it would just get to me and make me cry. And I realized it was because I was in a relationship where that was not happening. And so I would listen to it, and it was listening to it that allowed me to have the strength to get out of that relationship. And so, yeah, that was one.
And into this relationship.
Hey, baby.
Mine is, as an artist, I guess, from Sunday in the Park with George, Finishing the Hat and Move On. They're both like the perfect songs to listen to when you're feeling doubt as a writer.
Another great question. We're going to do one more, and this one comes from Allie. Allie, you should have a microphone, and of course,
Allie.
So you kind of already answered this, so I'll change it up a little bit. You talk a lot about how in Frozen 1, your little girls influenced a lot of the scenes with the little kids. Was there anything like from their teenage years now that you used in Frozen 2?
Gosh, first of all, back to our younger kids, my oldest daughter, who's now almost 15, was the singing voice of young Anna. So she's the one who goes, "Do you want to build a snowman?" Now our job is to go from CEO to consultant. We used to be like, here's what the company is doing, and this is where you're going. And now our job is to be like, make good choices. Here's $20. Which I think is a little bit about that experience of, like, I'm Anna in this case. I'm Anna, and my daughter is having to get to Atta Holland. Spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen it. But my daughter has to find her Atta Holland. She's got to find the source and place where she belongs in the world. And my job is to say, like, I trust you. I know, and I don't have to be there, but I will be there if you need me. And I guess there's that moment, spoiler alert, where Elsa sort of reaches out and sends a message to Anna that sort of saves the day. And my hope is that cell phone technology...
If she's ever at a party and there's alcohol involved, she will text us.
She will text us. I keep forgetting what the code word is that we were going... It was like, you don't have to text me that I'm at a party and I'm drinking. I was like, you can text me anything weird, but if it's 10 p.m., although she's not out till 10 p.m. at this point, but it'll happen probably junior and senior year. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to just come to her aid at that moment, that you keep that communication going.
Amazing questions. I will make sure you get your moves before you get out of here. Don't worry. I got to ask, as Let It Go was taking over the world and was playing nonstop in everybody's car and household, what was playing in yours? Because you wrote it and it was old news for you guys.
What was? We don't listen to music. Sometimes we...
What? That's not true. But there is a feeling of, like, sometimes we need to take a break from music because we're creating it all day long. Yeah. So I've noticed lately Bobby's been listening to a lot of podcasts. I think I really got into The Moth during that time because it's a way of listening that's not using the same musical muscles. That said, what were we listening to? And everyone else was freaking out about
always listening to the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
I'm going to say we probably were listening to Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder at that point, right? That was when our family was really getting into, like, why are all the dice quits dying?
Cannot go wrong. It has been so much fun having you both here. Thank you so much for coming by. I know you're super busy writing the best songs ever, so it's nice to take a break and come hang out with us and chat for a little bit. I'll remind the world that Frozen 2 is available right now on demand. You can go rent it on demand right now. But on the 25th, you can get it on Blu-ray, 4K, HD, Blue, all that nonsense. You can get it physically on a disc. You can bring it home. And as we learned earlier, there are different extras on the Blu-ray than there are with the digital release.
Sing along on the Blu-ray. So if you want to invite a bunch of friends over and, like, drink every time they say older, if you're of drinking age and you don't have an addiction.
Here? Is there there's a drinking game? No, there's not a. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being a great audience and asking wonderful questions. And thank you to everyone that tuned in all over the world for hanging out with us. Yes, keep doing that. But please louder for Kristen Anderson-Lopez and Robert Lopez.
Thank you. Thank you.